Hi everyone, my name's Kate Kalthoff and welcome to a Stamping to Share video. Today I'm going to share with you a card created from the stamp set called Wherever You Go. And it's cased a little bit from the catalog, but I did change the colors in the designer series paper. And so this is what the card looks like. And one of the things that I love about it is it actually uses kind of a feminine background paper from Love and Affection Specialty Designer Series paper, but when you use just a little tiny edge of it, it sort of looks more masculine. So this is the Specialty Designer Series paper called Love and Affection, and if I twist it around a little bit in front of the camera, I'm sure you can see that there's a lot of gorgeous copper foil on here. That's what makes it a specialty paper. And then of course this is the paper we're using in our card. It's navy blue on tip top taupe. That's a really beautiful color combination. And then on we go. So let's look at this card. This is what it looks like. And one of the things I love about it is the bridge. I always feel like a bridge is something that sort of takes you from one place to another. So this is a nice masculine card for like a graduation or maybe someone who's going through a career change. And then on the inside, just a little tiny strip of this tip-top taupe and floral paper. But again, it has kind of a masculine feel to it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Here's a close-up of the stamp set. One of the things that attracted me to the stamp set was this gorgeous burst of rays, sort of like a sunrise or a sunset. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is put all of these little tiny speckles into this very vanilla cardstock. So I'm going to bring down some scrap paper. Now this is grid paper that you can purchase from Stampin' Up. I love it. I use it all the time. But today I'm just going to flip it up and we are going to create kind of a protection area for my desk because we are going to take this very vanilla paper that is cut at 3 by 4 1/4 and we are going to knock some little tiny dots onto it. So to do that, I have a dry brush. Well, it's actually not that dry. The end of it is a little bit wet, but there's no water in the barrel. This is an aqua painter. And I did squirt a little bit of Night of Navy ink refill onto the base of my ink pad. So I'm just going to pick some of this Night of Navy ink refill up. Then I'm going to take a block, and I might as well just take this one here. And you just want to tap your pen against a hard surface. So I'm going to use my acrylic block. Let's see, let me get this out of the way. And we're just going to put some sprinkles on there. And that's really all we need, just a couple of taps. Oh, maybe one more. It's so much fun to do this, you almost don't want to stop. But this worked really well for protecting my work surface. So I'm going to pull this away. We're going to set that aside for just a second to give it time to dry. And then we're going to continue on with some of the other stamping that we can do on this card. So let me pull the scrap paper away. And let's get back to assembling the card. So we have a 4 1/4 by 11-inch piece of Night of Navy paper. This is scored at 5 1/2. We're going to take the bone folder, and it's a good idea to fold towards the score line, towards the mountain side of the score line. That will create less breakage on your paper. I'm going to give that a nice press so it will lie flat for us. The inside panel is a piece of very vanilla 4 by 5 1/4. And on the inside panel we do have that strip of paper. So this is 1/2 inch by 4 inches. And I've already put that down just with a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue. So now we can go ahead and put this on the inside panel of our card. Just put a little bit of snail at the top. The reason I like to use snail with vanilla and whisper white is sometimes with glue you can have a little bit of a glue line with those lighter weight stamped papers. These are wonderful papers to stamp on. So if you use multi-purpose liquid glue, you know, not right away will it show a glue line, but sometimes over a month or so you'll start to see a glue line, whereas you'll never worry about that with snail. However, I love the wiggle room with glue, so let me just show you why I love it so much. But we're going to put this panel from Love and Affection Designer Series paper onto the front of our card. This is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. And I'm going to use the multi-purpose liquid glue. And it works great. And you have that little bit of wiggle room. So when I put it on here, of course, once you know I put it on just perfect, trying to show you wiggle room. But if you do need to wiggle it, you have a couple of seconds to get it just perfect. So we're just lining this up so all 4 borders are nice and even. And now we can do some stamping. So this is the card that I had decorated a little bit at the beginning of the video. And of course, every single time you do this, it looks different. For this particular one, my brush had been a little bit drier and I got very, very tiny dots. And this one, my brush was just a tad wetter. I had just wet it with some water just to pick up the ink a little bit better. And of course, the dots are a little bit bigger, but that's okay. It's still going to look gorgeous. So now we can ink up our bridge. We're going to ink that up with Night of Navy. So let me bring the ink pad back into the picture. Sometimes when I'm inking up a larger stamp, I like to hold the ink pad in my right hand and just stamp it like this over the top. Then I can make sure I'm getting a nice good image. So we're going to take this and stamp it just like this. What I'm trying to do is make sure that the bottom of the bridge here, where we have this large column, is running parallel to the bottom of the paper, and that should give us the look we want for this bridge. And there that is. Looks great. Then we can take some Tip Top Taupe, and we're going to stamp the compass rose, making sure we've got this heading north. We're going to stamp this right here. And the next thing we want to do is we have a little 1/2 inch by 1 3/4 inch piece of very vanilla paper. We are going to stamp our sentiment on that. Now I have to admit, I have one in reserve. Because this is not a photopolymer stamp set, it's a little bit harder to judge exactly where this is going to be, and it's such a tiny piece of paper. But we'll do our best here. And actually that looks pretty good. So I did do a good job. But this is maybe going to smear a little bit. It needs just a little bit of time to dry. So I think I'm going to use the one that I did in advance. I'm going to put some dimensionals on there. Just 2 is all we need because that's about all that's going to fit on this particular panel. So we have that prepped and ready. And now we can stamp our beautiful sun down here. So we're going to do that with pumpkin pie. And again, I'm just going to flip it over and go like this. And then we'll put our sun rays right here. Could be a glorious morning or a fabulous sunset. Whatever you decide. And then I think it looks perfect if we would take the little bird that comes in this set and just have him, you know what, maybe we'll put our sentiment on first, just so we have an idea of where that goes. So let me bring the main card back into the picture, and I think we'll just go ahead and set this onto the front panel of our card, making sure that all the edges are nice and even. And then we'll set this little sentiment, which says sending thoughts your way. We'll just put this right here. And now we kind of know where to stamp our bird. Otherwise, I was afraid I might cover the bird up with the sentiment. So we'll ink that up with Night of Navy, and we'll just stamp him down here. Perfect. So there is the completed card that we have just created, and the card that I did in advance is right here. So thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate you. If you would like to place a Stampin' Up! Product order, be sure to visit my blog at www.stampingtoshare.com. I truly appreciate you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.